we also have this peel called UV Remedy Peel. And the whole idea here is I was involved with a couple of different companies over the years that had a peel, a topical peel that was minimal downtime and literally removed the dark spots from the skin. So even people with melasma. So we worked with the lab, and we kind of worked with a couple different formulators, and we come up with a peel that actually helps to, you know, lighten the skin for people that have pigment, and pigment mostly caused from UV damage. So that's how UV Remedy came about, and I'll explain this product to you here as we go. This is it. It's a kit. I mean, it's a 3-patient kit basically, and it has 3 steps. The first 2 steps are what the doctor or the professional does in the office. So this is a peel that the patient does not take home with them. The step 1 and step 2 are only done by a professional. And in step 3, there's 3 of those in one box. So each kit contains 1 step 1, 1 step 2, and 3 step 3s. And so it's a 3-patient kit, in other words. Step 1 and 2, there's more than enough solution in there for you to treat your patients. And then, of course, step 3, 1 jar goes home with that patient, and I'll explain it. So the whole idea here is it could be a patient that has never had any treatment for, you know, for their skin problems, or maybe they have had some treatment and they're just looking to kickstart it and get a better result. So you can use it for pretty much anybody that's just interested in overall, you know, skin health. So step 1 is glycolic acid, salicylic acid, and lactic acid. I can't see I gotta put my glasses on. I can't see the percentages because I don't remember them. So anyway, so it's glycolic acid 50%, lactic acid 10%, and sal acid 0.5%. So that's step 1. The pH of that product's 1.8. And basically, you would cleanse the skin. The product's in a gel base. You would just apply it to the skin like you would do any glycolic acid peel. The fact that it's in a gel base allows you to put it on and not worry about it running into the corners of the eyes or the nose or the mouth, because it's going to pretty much stay put where you put it. And we suggest leaving that on the skin for 3 to 5 minutes. So it's pretty straightforward. Glycolic, lactic, and salicylic acid. 3 to 5 minutes, and it depends on the patient. If they're super sensitive, you know, you leave it on a little bit less, and if they're tolerable, leave it on for up to 5 minutes.
And like Greg says, there's plenty in this for 3.
Yeah, there's more than enough product in each of those tubes for probably 6 patients. But the reason we did that is because in the past, I worked for a company that sold peels, similar peels, but the peels were in small tubes, and it was a 1-patient use tube, and doctors would have to fight with the tube to get every ounce out to get barely enough peel on the skin. When you're doing the peel, you want to make sure everything's covered and it's covered evenly. So we overfilled the tubes.
And quickly.
Yeah.
You want to do it quickly.
Yeah.
So we don't have time to redo.
Right. Right. And, you know, and it's okay to have a little bit extra, and it's okay to put it on a little bit heavier, but you just want to get it on the skin as quickly as you can so you have an even peel, for the full 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, however long you're leaving it on the skin. So anyway, so with the glycolic acid, after you do that, you just remove it from the skin with gauze pads, wet gauze pads, or if you have a sink where you could, rinse the face. The important thing in step 1 is to get it off the skin as fast, or not as fast, as thorough as possible. So even when you're all done doing 2 or 3 passes with the gauze pads, do another one just to make sure it's off the skin. And the only reason for that is when you put step 2 on, we don't want to occlude any of the step 1, because it would just irritate the skin and burn a little bit longer. And the whole idea here is to have a peel that is, there should be little to no downtime on the peel.
Yes. One of the questions we did get is from the audience is he mentioned physician. Is it only there to use, not esthetician? No, we can use this as an esthetician. You need to just make sure by the percentage it is okay by your state. Some states do have different how low the pH can be on certain peels. But as a general rule, most estheticians can use this peel.
Yeah, and I refer to physicians because we're always calling on physician offices, but we have a lot of estheticians within the physician's offices that do all of these peels all day long. So
We,
that's,
of course, obviously, Greg, we do a lot with medical and strictly solo estheticians too. So, you know, we work on both fields, as I call it. So for that reason, they just wanted to make sure that they didn't need a physician to sign off, or the physician has to do the peel.
yeah, no, not at all. So,
And then it says, for those who absolutely want no flaking visible peel, is there a way to do this and still reduce slower pigmentation? In other words, if they don't want the client to peel at all, would they get any benefits if they didn't peel?
yeah, I mean, there'll be some benefits, Pam. I mean, as far as like the overall texture and tone of the skin, but I think you know, not everybody's going to peel the same. So whether you leave it on for 2 minutes, you can leave it on 10 people for 2 minutes and they're all going to peel differently, or you can leave it on 10 people for 5 minutes and they're all going to peel differently. So it just depends on the level of damage you have on your skin. So because you don't peel extensively doesn't mean you're not going to get a result. It just depends on the patient and how well they've been taking care of their skin.
We have found that. We have done the peel on multiple people when we were doing our studies. As you know, we put everybody through studies before we bring something on to make sure that it works.
Right.
And we have found the degree to be hardly any peeling or sloughing to a good, really good peel, you know, where they get a lot of it. So it can vary. I have found that out personally. Andrea may attest to, as you might have seen in those pictures at the beginning, Andrea was our model, and Stephanie has done them too. So again, we tested it on many people before we actually started carrying this line. And the results has been super great. Andrea has probably been the most faithful, and it probably even done, because you do want to wait a certain time period before you would do the peel again. And it's really, I've seen a remarkable difference on all that she's doing, of combination of things, and the peel has been right in there with this to get these results that she's getting. So, and is the Fitzpatrick, can we use it on all levels of Fitzpatrick?
You can. I mean, if you look at the chart that talks about glycolic and lactic and salicylic acid, you can use it on all levels of Fitzpatrick, but you still have to be cautious to the darker skin tones, because even though glycolic and lactic are pretty much surface peels, if you get it on an area, a hot spot where it starts to drive deeper into the skin, they could have hyperpigmentation or hypopigmentation. So I think it's important to just pay attention to the patient. And for the darker skin patients, you might want to just leave it on less time.
That's it. The first time, definitely. If it's somebody that is more of the 4, 5s in the Fitzpatrick,
Right.
Definitely, let's go gentle and not leave it on as long.
Right.
And then that way we can see how well they did, and then we might be able to bump it up a little bit the next time, or not. Depends, but they'll still get results. So you don't want to take in, it doesn't always mean putting on more is best. We want to take in, always do good for the skin.
Right. And Pam, early on you were talking about how people react differently. I mean, I've done the peel a lot. I had a dermatologist do it on me to demonstrate to her staff, and I peeled a lot for some reason. I don't know. I must have just haven't been taking care of my skin as best I thought I was. So I've done the peel many times, by the way, because I have the peels. So if I have to do a demo and there's nobody to demo, they just do it on me. So there were times when I hardly peeled at all, but the tone and texture of my skin, it was kind of glowing afterwards. So it just, it leaves kind of a unique feel to your skin afterwards. And I think patients will be happy with the results regardless of peeling a lot or peeling a little bit. So, but getting to the other like the other two products, I mean, this is where, you know, the at-home care comes in. So let me just I'll go through step 2 real quick, and then step 3, and then we can just talk after that. But step 2, it's mandelic, salicylic acid, retinol, and Embleca. These are all kind of natural lighteners for the skin. So if people have like lots of pigment and they're trying to reduce that and even the overall tone and texture of the skin, that's where this entire system comes into play. So step 2, after you clear off step 1 completely and make sure that the skin is dry after you remove the glycolic with water, you apply step 2, and step 2 it's much thinner. Some people will use a brush to paint it on the skin, and mandelic acid is, if you look at mandelic acid in its raw state, it's bright orange. So when you put this on the skin, it's going to have a yellow orangish tone to it, but it'll soak into the skin. So anyway, so you put this on, it's not going to stain your skin. It's just orange when you put it on because that's mandelic acid. So anyway, when you put this on, you put it on the skin, you put on a thin coat, you can massage it in, pay close attention to the areas where they had pigment, massage it into the skin and just leave it on. Don't rinse it off. Let the patients leave with it on. If the patient got the peel done had the peel done at noontime, they can leave it on all day, and at night before they go to bed, if they want to rinse their skin, they can. If they have it done later in the day, 4 or 5 o'clock, and they go home, they don't have to rinse it off at all the next morning. Because when I say rinse it off, you're really not rinsing anything off. It's absorbed into your skin by then. But if they want to cleanse their face, it's fine. But it's also fine to leave it on till the next morning. So the longer, the better. It's just going to help to exfoliate more. So that's step 2. And so where step 3 comes in, step 3 is basically a mini version of of all the things that we just did. So kojic, mandelic, retinol, salicylic, and Embleca. It's a very small percentage of all of those different ingredients. And after, let's say, 4 days or so, when the patient stops peeling, so normally like day 2, 3, 4 is when they peel. So on day 4 or 5 is when you start using step 3 at night only. And step 3 is, like I said, it's a mini version, a smaller amount of the ingredients that we just talked about, a much higher pH at 5.25. So it's not going to be as irritating. But step 3 is really what takes the patient to the next level. If the patient uses this jar until it's gone, it's usually about 3 weeks, every night on day 4 or 5 until it's gone, and they pay close attention to where they have the pigment on their skin. And you can put it on a little bit heavier. You don't have to actually massage it into the skin. What we recommend is putting a thin layer everywhere, and then depending if they have pigment, and actually putting a little bit more on those areas. So if the patient's compliant and they use step 3 on a regular basis at night, they stay out of the sun, they protect their skin with sunscreens, they should get some pretty good results. If they have a lot of pigment, or say melasma, melasma is a tough one to treat. If you step out into the sun for just a few minutes while you're being treated with melasma, you're not going to get any results. So if they're compliant and they're taking care of themselves, they'll have some great results with this. If they have stubborn melasma, they need to be compliant, but they can also have another treatment, as soon as 3 weeks later, after they're done with their original kit, the first jar of step 3, 2 to 3 weeks after that, they can come in for another peel. Some people need 2 or 3 treatments if they have extremely bad UV damage on their skin. And some people will get great results with 1 treatment, just depending on who they are. We recommend that it's done, in an office. Estheticians can do it. It's fine. Doctor does not have to be there, as long as the doctor's aware that the peels are part of their, their protocol. If there's, if it's a salon, the products are safe enough to use in the salon environment as well.
Okay, we just wrote a little bit about the 6 different acids, so we're just going to put the screens up so that way they can refer back to them if they watch the video. So it just tells you a little bit about glycolic, salicylic, mandelic. Most of us, of course, as estheticians, we are real familiar with these. And Andrea, on the next page is the other 3. And the Kojak, the retinol, and the Embryonic. So just have that there, so we have it on the screen, so that way they can refer to it later if they want to watch the recording. Just a little bit of information about it. Also, we're going to just do a quick little video that kind of shows you. There are cautions. Of course, this is for professional use only, and you're not going to use it on anyone during their pregnancy. Basically, this is going to be on here too, so that everybody knows about that. Next page. Okay, and like Greg did, he talked about what's all in the kit. It's a great, easy kit. You can definitely add it to your menu of service. One question, Greg, that was asked was, how often could they do this? Every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks?
Yeah, so Pam, if the patient comes in for, let's just say, their first peel, so it would take them a month basically, right? Because the first week would be the peel that you do, so 3 or 4 days of peeling, and then you would have about 3 weeks of step 3. So you can actually, what we recommend is like, so that would be 4 weeks of the actual peel, including the take home, right? So in the past, we would recommend a 2-week break, and then they can have another peel done. So basically every 6 weeks.
Not every 6 weeks. That would be what I would recommend. So that's, we're good with that. So Andrea, do you have the video, the little, we're going to play you a little bit of a quick little video that shows it being done. This is Barry from Lip Gloss and Aftershave, and we actually did him at a conference, I think it was last year in San Jose. So that's it, shows you what the product looks like. So just a quick little video putting it on, removing it, and then like Greg mentioned, the coloring here, that was a good way that you can see it, but it goes right into the skin. And that was right afterwards. I have to tell a story. The one little spot that was a little bit red in the corner, he went out that night and actually got a hot pepper on his skin too. And that's what caused that little red spot. It all healed fine, looked great. So then we have the part 3, the 4, and then you can put on other products and other serums too. And there you go. After 14 days, this is what his skin looks like. Quick little view of it. How's that?
That's perfect, man. That's a great video. I mean, I've seen the video before, but with the music playing and stuff, I think it's a good video.
Right. Yeah, no music today. So I will tell you that, we've also added onto our site consent forms, intake forms, examples of that, the precautions. We've got a longer video that we produced doing the peel too for SDs to be able to see. And again, yes, this is strictly for, someone asked, for estheticians, doctor's offices to do. It can be estheticians. You don't have to be in a doctor's office, but that's the 2 categories. It is not a home use product except for what the client takes home. So if a consumer is watching this and they want this peel, contact your estes and say, hey, do you do the UV remedy peel? And then they can get the UV remedy peel, and your esthetician can start doing that for you. Okay. I always tell every SD though, when you're doing peels, prepare them from the worst. Prepare them that, they may get a little sloughing, but you could get a little tightness, cracking, and a whole lot. Prepare for them for the worst, because you want that proper handheld presentation is what I call it. Because if they did get real tight and a lot of peeling, they may think, oh my goodness, do I have a problem? But if you prepare them ahead of time that this can happen, then they know that it'll be okay. Having befores and afters, and you can use this picture of Andrea, so then that way they can see the steps and what the skin could look like, could be less, could be a little bit more, but that you always want to properly kind of prepare them for the worst example, so then that way they don't panic at home.
Yep, so I'll just chime in since I've had the peel twice now. I lived in Guam on a tropical island for about 4 years. I was not very good about wearing sunscreen, and I'm a runner, so I'm all the time out in the sun and silly. Then I wouldn't wear a visor or hat or anything. I've changed my ways since then. I'm really trying to improve the pigmentation that is on my skin. So I have seen tremendous improvement using the peel just to diminish some of the dark spots that are on my face. It's very quick. I mean, you'll start peeling, like Greg was saying, on basically day 3 and 4, and those are the worst days. After that, I mean, it's really fine. You're just healing, starting to use the step 3. It goes on, very smooth. It's a little thick. So that's, I think, probably why you would want to apply it at nighttime, just so you can get, more of that just to kind of penetrate into your skin at night. But it's a great peel. It's in addition, I like to use the Photozyme as well, the youth recovery, and I've been using that in addition to sunscreen. I think that's improving the look of my skin.
Excellent. Perfect. Greg. Really appreciate, you coming, and it's always great to get to know who's behind the brand. And so we really do appreciate you coming and sharing your information with us today. And maybe you'll come back another time.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. And hopefully I was able to get some information out to everyone, and everyone's excited about the products as well. So thanks again.
Looks like they are. So thank you very much.